Okay. My usual, are we live on a Sunday morning? I think looks like we are live. Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. Apologies, we're a little late. It's Sunday morning, you know, things are a little, a little more flexible today. Thank you so much for joining us. Our first interview, excuse me, first interview with WiseOceans on a Sunday morning. Is this a good time? I think it might be. I like it. So come along and get ready to listen to Emily today. I'll introduce her a little bit more formally in a minute. Excuse me. As you know, this is part of our series of Interview with WiseOceans. We have 100, and I think now probably heading towards 170 written interviews on our website, a fantastic resource for anybody who is looking to get a career in marine conservation, marine science, marine biology, whatever the term you want to use. Really inspirational. And now we've got quite a lot of these live Facebook live interviews, which we're really enjoying doing. We can answer your questions live, really designed for anybody thinking about going into marine conservation as a career. Perhaps you're already there, perhaps you're looking for inspiration to move sideways onwards. I think, yes, a fantastic resource. So thank you for joining us. My name is Charlotte. I think probably a lot of you have seen me here before. I work for WiseOceans, and I'm going to welcome Emily, Emily Stevenson, who has, I mean, I was going to do an introduction, but there's so much. She's so young and she's done so much. I'm going to actually get you, Emily, just to tell you a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, what you've been doing quite recently that you were just telling me about. That sounds very exciting. So welcome, Emily, and over to you for a short while.
Thanks very much, Charlotte. And can I just say thank you so much for inviting me to join on your interview series. I was having a look this morning at some of the written pieces and other interviews, and the people that you've spoken to are absolutely phenomenal, so inspiring, and I'm so honoured to be part of the WiseOcean family now. So thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Emily Stevenson. I am a marine biologist and the co-founder of Beach Guardian. So Beach Guardian is a social enterprise based in North Cornwall here in the UK that aims to engage, educate and empower against plastic pollution. And we do that through lots of different things with community outreach and engagements and events like beach cleaning. We work in schools and we work with businesses to help them reduce their reliance on unnecessary plastics. And then we try and do everything from an evidence-based approach. So, you know, we do bits of research. I've just completed my master's degree at the University of Exeter. And I'm just working as a research assistant too at the University of Exeter. And then finally, if not most importantly, we work collaboratively. So with every organisation we possibly can, which is why it's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I think you just ticked all the boxes of how to succeed in marine conservation, really. That's absolutely brilliant. It's just so exciting to see the breadth of what you do, and obviously for us as educate with education, you know, right in the center of everything that we do. It just fantastic. Really, really exciting to see what you've been doing. So what was your sort of route in to all of that? I mean, you're talking about, you know, doing masters and everything else. Going to sort of take us back a little bit. How has that sort of trajectory actually happen? Because you're doing all these exciting things. I imagine some of our listeners might be thinking, that sounds this kind of thing I might like to do. I have no idea what the path might be.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, a lot of what I've done was never really perfectly planned. I've just been kind of riding this wave of empowerment and awareness, and you know, you'll know, as the world has kind of woken up to plastic pollution, there was this sudden movement, and I just happened to tends to be I just happen to be at the right place at the right time a lot of the time. But going really far back,
luck is preparation meets opportunity, I think.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I'll take that. I'm going to use that from now on. It sounds a lot better than just winging it or faking it till I make it. But I mean, going further back, unfortunately, it is just a total cliche of a story of, you know, being a young woman growing up in Cornwall and being, you know, surrounded by, in my opinion, obviously I'm biased, the most beautiful coastline on the planet, and having that connection to the ocean from such a young age. I think that's why I've always wanted to protect it. And likewise, being exposed to these beautiful environments and also exposed to plastic pollution, it's something that I've always been exposed to, and that's probably why now, well, it is now why I want to dedicate my life to tackling this. So it just comes from kind of a childhood, I suppose, the nostalgic attachment to these coastal areas and wanting to protect them.
And on a sort of practical level, you know, you went to university and so on. Did you were you able to kind of get a lot of experience? Because I mean, certainly if you've looked at any of our interviews, you know, a lot of advice is, you know, get volunteer positions or get some kind of experience. Is that the sort of thing you did in your holidays or during your degree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was younger, I was at Weybridge School, so I was at high school. I was about 11 years old at the time. And this is when the moment that it kind of all started, when they said, we've got like this class project and you need to make something out of something from the beaches. So I went down to the beach and everybody was taking shells and stones and pebbles into school. And I took plastic in, and it was kind of then that I decided that I wanted to be a marine biologist. And in my mind, to be a marine biologist, you would have to go to university and study marine biology. That's just how I kind of had it in my head. So I went to Plymouth University for 3 years to study marine biology. And when I was there, towards the end of my degree, I suddenly kind of had this drive and motivation and passion for campaigning and volunteering work, as you say. So I really immersed myself in that side of things and in that field of just being a volunteer and a campaigner. And I think the most important side of that is, you know, to speak with as many different people as possible, to engage with as many different people as possible, go to all these different conferences, go to all of these events, and really just, you know, volunteer at every opportunity you possibly can. I didn't ever see myself going into, you know, further education beyond my undergraduate degree, and until I kind of, after a year of working for Beach Guardian full-time as a full-time volunteer, I kind of thought, well, what's next for me? And I really wanted to get into the research side of things, and it was then that I wanted to do my master's, and now hopefully I want to progress further. So I'd say education and academia are quite important.
And great networking opportunities.
Oh, for sure.
We get a lot of questions. We go to career events and other things, and we you know, not everybody has the desire or the means to be able to go off to tropical climes for a 3-month expedition, fantastic as they are. It's not necessarily something that everyone wants or can do. And people get very like, well, I can't find anything that doesn't cost me anything, or I can't find anything locally. And there's always something, isn't there? There's always, like you say, groups that are just organizing a litter pick or going, like you say, going to a conference and finding out who needs help, being that little bit of hustle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, is that for a lot of young people wanting to go into marine conservation, I know I had this kind of vision that a marine biologist was somebody that swims with dolphins and takes pictures of beautiful coral reefs.
I do know some of those people.
Yeah, which like I still see that as kind of like the gold kind of striving towards. But there are so many different ways and jobs of being a marine biologist. It's not the kind of it's not always the kind of traditional view of, you know, that Hollywood portrays it as.
Absolutely.
And doing beach cleans, and there are so many other fantastic volunteering opportunities that you can do. And I think people underestimate how beautiful our coastline in the UK is. You know, you don't have to go to Bali, although Bali is absolutely beautiful and I would love to go and do some conservation work in Bali.
I mean, perhaps a silver lining to our current predicament is that people are exploring the UK more than perhaps they have in the past. So
yeah, this is true. This is very true.
I think that would be a good thing. Bit of ownership for our beautiful country.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the best volunteering opportunities that I've come across for young people wanting to go into marine conservation are with our local Cornwall Wildlife Trust or the Wildlife Trust across the UK. You know, doing rock pool rambles and engaging with younger people down on the beach, connecting with nature. That is just absolutely invaluable to any young person wanting to get involved in.
So good, because you do there's also like public speaking, there's education. You know, when we're employing people as marine educators, we want to see people that have got some experience, and they might not have worked in a luxury resort, but maybe they've, you know, educated people, you know, on a rock pool ramble or whatever, you know. So fantastic opportunities. I think, you know, it's really important that people can see that there are those opportunities. Really, really good. You've got a whole range of things, which is really exciting. Is there a typical day for you, or what are the range of things that you do, if not?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really a typical day, because everything, you know, I say I'm like riding this kind of wave and just kind of seeing what happens. There's probably a typical week.
Yeah.
We do, you know, a lot of beach, but of course with COVID-19, everything has had to be flipped on its head. So at the moment, what we're currently doing is we're just about to relaunch our beach clean series, which is really exciting. You know, beach cleaning is kind of the backbone of what we do at Beach Guardian. So
where can people find out about this if they want to?
All across social media. So on Facebook, just Beach Guardian, Instagram, Beach Guardian, on our website, beachguardian.org. We're hoping to release those dates on Tuesday, which is going to be super exciting. Yes. And then we do a lot of kind of, at the moment, because we can't physically go and deliver many presentations because of COVID restrictions, a lot of it engaging online, visiting community groups via Zoom and Teams and whatnot, and that kind of thing. So we're just trying to keep up the engagement and awareness while we can't physically be with each other. But speaking of silver linings, you know, though we've kind of never been more physically isolated, we've never been more connected on these online platforms. It's bonkers. Like my week, I go all across the world without actually moving from.
I
know. You know, it's been exciting. Of course, it seems awful to say that in the face of a global tragedy, but there has been a new connectivity to spread this message.
Absolutely. I think, well, you know, we have to make the most of any silver linings, you know, to I think, because otherwise, you know, it is a wasted opportunity to at least get something good out of where we are.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So now you're sort of where you are. Are there skills that you have to use on a daily basis that perhaps you never thought you might back at school or even at university, that things that you wish maybe you'd worked harder on at the time, or that could maybe inspire others to think that would be useful?
Honestly, I think the most important skill that any kind of any conservationist that works with the public and tries to, you know, access different platforms like social media, I think the most important skill that I think not enough people talk about is self-belief. I think the thing that I have struggled with the most personally, and many of my peers have struggled with, is the imposter syndrome. You know, at what point do you say, I'm a marine biologist? At what point do you say, I'm a scientist? You know, as a young person, especially, and as a woman, we kind of don't appreciate our value in a certain field or appreciate our expertise. We're just always striving to be the best that we can. And it's important to kind of acknowledge your achievements and the value that you bring to the table. And I think self-belief has this kind of unfortunate stigma of arrogance, and we never want to kind of put ourselves in a situation,
especially if
where
you're a woman.
Exactly. But I think once you believe in yourself, it allows other people to believe in you too, and that is the most powerful thing. So I wish if I could kind of go back and say to myself, you know, what you're doing is enough. Who you are is enough. You are where you want to be, and you're doing a good job. That, I think that is the most important thing, to believe in yourself.
I think that's really, really great advice. Imposter syndrome. I mean, I think if everybody knew that everybody has imposter syndrome, you know, it's really interesting. I mean, I can look back at, you know, areas of my life, and the same thing. It's like, oh, actually, I did a really good job then. I didn't think so at the time. So I think that's, yeah, really, really good advice for everyone, but it's especially women as well. I think, you know, it's not, we are not so good at being confident about what we want and what we want to say and do. So yeah, fantastic. But good advice for everybody, absolutely. Did you ever find, I mean, certainly in the career events that we go to, we find sort of a lot of young students are sort of overwhelmed by the competitiveness of kind of finding your way. It's you know, I mean, it's hard to get any jobs. It's hard to get jobs that you want in any field, but marine conservation is pretty competitive. There are, you know, there are many people on your course, and multiply that by all the universities and so on. Aside from kind of the sort of self-belief, as it were, it was what was it that kind of made you, or is there any advice for people to sort of find their route and not give up, kind of thing, or, you know, if you want to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important advice I can give here is I was in a presentation the other day, and somebody said, you know, working in conservation, it's almost like finding your tribe, and having a support network around you is the most important thing. You know, making sure that you're in an environment where you feel comfortable enough to kind of take on more work, but also kind of say, you know, I've got too much going on, please can somebody else take this on. You know, having a support network and having your tribe around you is so important. And following on from that, similarly, I think it's so important going into conservation, particularly just starting off, to say yes to every opportunity that presents itself. Literally, like,
what's the worst that could happen?
Right. Like, you never know. Like, if you know, a group might approach you and say, could you deliver a presentation or workshop with this group? And you might think, how could this group get involved with marine conservation? You know, there may not be a typical group to be engaged in this kind of discussion or something like that, and you may not see maybe the value. But if you say yes to everything, you never know who is in that audience. You never know who's going to go on and make a change and instigate positive change, and you never know the difference that it's going to make. And the amount of times I've come out of a presentation and gone, wow, I never expected, you know, to have that response and that reaction. But I'm going to totally juxtapose what I've just said there. And whilst I think it is important to say yes to every opportunity, I think it's equally as important to know when it's time to say, no, I can't do that at this time. Yeah. But that doesn't mean, no, I'm never going to do it. It's, I'm really busy at the moment, and I can do a better job for you.
It's a strategy.
Yes. And I think the best piece of advice that, again, if I could go back 5 years ago and tell myself this is the only thing that, you know, I think is super, 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 super important, other than, you know, the other bits that I've already said, is that the key to success is making sure you actually give yourself at least one day off a week. And I always thought that taking a break was, you know, oh, what if I get behind them? But you to get optimum productivity, giving yourself a day off is so important.
And also, you never catch up. You know what I mean? It's like that sort of like, well, if I only did another day's work, I might catch up, and then there'd be no list. It's like there's always a list. You're never going to catch up. it's just an ongoing thing, and you do what you can,
yeah.
and you prioritize and so on. So
I'm so glad you've just said that, because that is literally me.
yeah, no, I'm older, not necessarily wiser, but I do remember a time I had a whole different job, and I was a head of department, and hundreds of emails coming my way through, and I was just getting overwhelmed with it, and but this can happen at any stage in your life. And it was a sort of realization. It's like, oh, okay, this is never ever going to go away. I just have to manage what's there. And that's like if you've got coursework for your uni, or if you're setting up your own business, or you're just starting in a new job. There's lots to learn. I think all of that is just you can't ever do it all.
Right, we can only ever do our best, right?
Absolutely. Speaking about you were saying that you never know who's in the audience. Maybe you want to share about what you've been up to this week, and somebody rather important in the audience where you are.
Yeah, it's been a really exciting weekend. So over the past few months, since February, I believe, I've had the absolute privilege to be involved in the official youth engagement group for the G7. So this is called the Youth 7, or the Y7. And my role was, I was part of the Youth Forum, which was a group of 20 young people across the UK, challenged with making sure that, so essentially the purpose of the Youth 7 is to consult the youth across the G7 nations, and to bring all of that consultation and priorities of young people together in a final communique, which gets delivered to the G7 leaders at the G7 summit here in Cornwall at Carbis Bay in June. And the communique is essentially a document with policy recommendations for the G7 leaders. And it's divided up into different tracks. So we have the climate and environment track, the health track, the economy track, and the digital track. Now, I'll give you any guess to the track that I was in. So the Youth Forum is tasked with making sure that the delegates who actually write the communique always bring the policies back to the youth, and always have this youth-centric approach. And it was our job to bring our lived experience to the table, so to speak. So through my lived experience of working in marine conservation, engaging with young people in schools, I was able to bring that to the table and say, this is what I think young people think is important, and what I think should be translated into our policies. So this weekend was the official summit of the Youth 7, meaning that our communique was released to the public. And it was so exciting to finally, after all these months, bring all of our work to the view of the public. And we were very fortunate to have Boris Johnson do an interview about the communique, our policies, and what he thought was important for young people. And one thing that he really mentioned was and highlighted was important this year in G7 discussions that was brought to the table by the Y7 was mental health.
Interesting.
And this is something that wasn't really on the agenda of G7 leaders. This was really kind of highlighted through the work of the Youth 7. And for example, in the climate and environment policy track, one of our key themes that we were working towards was crisis management of climate change. And the delegates were talking about, how to implement early warning systems and other kind of policies to combat and mitigate and work towards crisis management. And something that the Youth Forum brought to the table was, whilst we're talking about the physical crisis of climate change, we have to talk about the psychological crisis.
Absolutely.
It's this kind of eco-anxiety that young people across the world are feeling, it's this burden of this damaged planet that we're inheriting. So hopefully we're going to, ensure that there's support in place for young people and their mental health and well-being. But also something that was really important that was put in the final communique was that we're calling for G7 leaders to mandate climate and environment education in the curriculum across the G7 nations, because I feel that one of the biggest drivers of this eco-anxiety is just the kind of fear of the unknown. once we know better, we can do better, and giving that education to young people and older people is so important.
Yeah, that whole kind of like, well, it's such a big problem, I can't deal with it, head in the sand. Oh, it's not helpful at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that is it last week? I've lost track of time. It was Mental Health Awareness Week, and
exactly.
it was all linked to nature as well, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think this is probably the side of what I do that I never kind of saw as a branch of Beach Guardian, if you like. I always kind of saw conservation as very clear cut about the animals, protecting wildlife, and
we're all connected.
We are all connected. You know, I never saw conservation as a human thing as much as an animal thing. And now the mental health benefits of doing a beach clean and connecting with your community and contributing to society is limitless, and we've seen huge
and it's
benefits.
Human beings that are going to have to make the change, not the animals.
exactly.
So yeah, fantastic. Well, that sounds really, really exciting. We'd be interested to see how that progresses when it all kind of comes together. So finishing off, we always have a little fun thing about favorite marine moments in the sea, or favorite marine creatures. Is there anything either above the water or in the water that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, I mean, I've been so blessed to experience so many amazing marine moments, but my favorite marine moment and favorite marine animal, fortunately, go together.
There we go, 2 for 1.
2 for 1, yeah. And this takes me back, it wasn't last year because we were all in lockdown. This was 2019, I believe. I saw that there was these fantastic shark trips, blue shark trips going out of Falmouth here in Cornwall. And sharks have always been my favorite marine animal. Everything about sharks just fascinates me, and I just am totally in awe of this species, the blue sharks. I think they are the most beautiful.
That's so beautiful as well.
So beautiful and agile, and just the epitome of perfect shark. So I saw that these trips were going out of Falmouth, and I don't know why, but even as a marine conservationist, I was kind of felt nervous to go on a shark watching trip. But I went out, and it was the most beautiful day. The water was crystal clear, perfectly calm and flat, and it was so surreal that I was at home, like in my home county. I wasn't diving in the Red Sea. No. I was here off the coast of Cornwall. It was like perfect conditions. And the skipper of the boat says, there's sharks in the water. Obviously all the safety precautions were in place, and you have to kind of go on an organised trip, these kinds of things. But he said, you can get in. So I just slipped into the water and just kind of floated there, and I was totally mesmerised. And for about 6 hours, there was 2 blue sharks just swimming around, and it was the most amazing. It was like meditating. I was just literally floating and just
be prescribed.
Yeah, literally. And these sharks, they were like puppies, and it just totally blew my mind that these animals, they're so feared across the world, but I just saw beauty and magic. And then I went home and I made a video about it, and I researched, and I couldn't believe that estimates suggest that 20 million blue sharks are killed every single year. 20, I couldn't even imagine that there were in the ocean, let alone that's how many are killed. So blue sharks for me are my favorite, and spending that time with.
Funnily enough, we've just had a question. What's your favorite shark?
Blue sharks, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I'm really, really happy for you that you had that experience. I did a similar trip. Beautiful day, crystal clear, lovely. Didn't see any blue sharks.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I didn't realise how spoiled I was with that experience. And I did it
Lovely
again.
Day at sea.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And I did it again last year. There was thick fog. The conditions, you know, it was really choppy, really poor visibility. We were out at sea for 8 hours. Everybody got seasick, no sharks. So I had the complete polar opposite experience, and it made me realize the whole experience. The second experience made me realize how lucky I was.
Yeah, but you have to. It's, you know, I did a basking shark one, and we spent 3 days on a boat.
Wow.
And we did get to see one in the last hour of the 3 days.
Always the way.
But I did swim with a basking shark. So.
Oh, I'm jealous. That's next.
Oh, I recommend. I mean, like thick wetsuits. It's chilly. But yeah, really, really great. That was up in Scotland with Basking Shark Scotland. That was really fantastic.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, that's a dream.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that unfortunately brings us to the end of our interview. As Emily said, if you want to find more about Beach Guardian, just search Beach Guardian. It's easy to find, and get involved. And yeah, just best of luck with all the myriad of things that you've got going. Really excited for the Youth 7 thing. Better. Program, activity, I don't know, my brain's gone. So yeah, very best of luck, and thank you so much for joining us. I think your advice has been really, really inspirational and really practical as well, to inspire people to kind of do their own thing, get going. And oh, Linda said you inspire us, so that's fantastic. So yeah, I think and if anyone's watching this on catch up, please just put your questions in there. We'll do our best to answer them all in time. And thank you for everybody who has come along live today to watch us. We'll be back next month. We've got more lined up. And as I say, if you haven't yet checked out written interviews on our website, wiseoceans.com, head on our job board. You'll see a link to the interviews there. I'm sure it was, I counted 150 plus some time ago, so it must be heading up to about 170 now, I think, and across the board of marine conservation. So if you've got really any questions about careers in this area, it's a great place to start. So thank you, Emily, and thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Thanks very much again for having me. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.